Hey, what's going on? This is Sports Truth, and I'm your favorite host in the entire world, Jordan Harris. So, as most of you know, the Hurricanes wrapped up their first spring practice on Monday, and just going through the internet, going through Twitter, reading all kind of different articles, there seems to be a consensus that there was one player who stood out more than anybody else. And I do want to set aside Cam Ward on this because everybody's talking about Cam Ward, but I'm not talking about Cam Ward in this. So outside of Cam Ward, outside of Ruben Bain, there's one person who really stood out in this practice. So it made me wonder, like, it looked like the Hurricanes, do we potentially have a new secret weapon on our team? Which is incredibly important, which I'll talk about that towards the end of the video. But one of the articles that I read when I was scrolling through my computer, looking at different topics to talk about today, one of the articles, just the topic, the title of it, jumped off the screen for me. And the title of the article is Miami Spring Practice, Day 1 MVP could not be guarded. And then it says Miami's passing game looks more explosive. The article is from Brian Smith, who I'm a big fan of. I think he does excellent work. So I read the whole article. What I want to do is I want to tell you who this athlete is, who this player is, who was the MVP of day one practice, spring practice. Tell you who that player is, and then I'll read through some of the excerpts, and then we'll go over some of his stats, and then we'll go from there. All right, so the player in question, the guy that we're talking about here, is Ray Joseph. Okay, so Ray Joseph played in 3 games last year. We'll go over his stats real quick. So he played in 3 games last year, or he at least recorded stats in 3 games. He had 6 catches altogether for 36 yards. So he had 1 catch in Miami, Ohio game. He had 3 catches in the Bethune-Cookman game, and he also had 2 catches in the Temple game. And that was on September 23rd. So from then on, he did not record one single stat after that. Then I'm like, well, I don't know much about him. Like, I heard the name, and I'm like, I don't remember a Ray Joseph. I just do not. I watched every single game, and for some reason, I could not think of who that was. So I was like, well, let me go back and see what the recruitment was like on this guy. So he was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. So he's obviously got some God gifted ability. He's got some really good talent. So I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and read through the rest of this article. So I'm going to read through some excerpts right now, just what Brian Smith had to say. All right, so he started with Miami football went through day 1 of spring practice, and its best player is a rising sophomore wide receiver from South Florida, Ray Joseph. And he says he's running routes better, mixing up moves in and out of his breaks to keep defensive backs off guard, and he looks better catching the football. There's also the one constant with Joseph that must be mentioned as well: speed. So, as y'all know, like, man, in college football, you want to space defense out. You want to have speed all over the field. Speed kills. And if you're going to compete with these teams from the SEC, if you're going to compete with these teams from the Big Ten, you've got to have size, obviously, but you also got to have speed to offset some of that size that these Big Ten teams have. You got to have speed to offset some of that size. You have to, or there's no way you're going to win, right? So he continues to go on by saying Joseph continuously gets behind the secondary. He's a lightning bolt. Any defensive back who does not get his hands on Joseph near the scrimmage, good luck. Even some of Joseph's shorter routes would be huge gains. And then he finishes by saying that point stems from his separation. Joseph caught several passes at least a couple yards away from defensive backs, and he's going to get plenty of yards after he catches just based on those situations alone. So, as y'all know, like last year, it seemed like in some of these games, now our quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke, like he killed us. Let's be real, he killed us a lot of times. But there was sometimes, like if you go back and you look at some of those all 22 angles and you watch some of those plays, it's like nobody was open, especially whenever they have Xavier Restrepo in the middle, like playing the slot receiver, and he's got an option route where he can go left or right, and then they double him, so if they double Xavier Restrepo towards the middle of the field, it seemed like those outside receivers just didn't get much separation. So whenever I hear the word separation, talking about receivers that the Hurricanes have, it's music to my ears. We got to get more separation on a consistent basis. Um, so yeah, that was music to my ears hearing that. Also, the fact that he's a burner, he can get behind the secondary, that's music to my ears too. And then I know some of y'all who can be kind of pessimistic. You'll have the same mindset that I'm not gonna lie, man. I had the same mindset too, which was this article talking about this receiver. It could go one of two different ways. One, you could look at it and say this receiver must have improved and he looks outstanding. The other thing is when the writer of this article says he consistently got behind the secondary, it makes you go, uh-oh, did we not get this safety situation figured out? Are our corners not looking really good in this first practice? So one of two ways. You could be optimistic and say this receiver is just outstanding and improved quite a bit, or you can be slightly pessimistic and say maybe our safety issue with both of those safeties leaving last year didn't get addressed like we hoped it did. Or maybe they're just not coached up as much as we hope they will be eventually. So I don't know. Are you optimistic on that or are you towards the pessimistic side? Let me know in the comment section about that. So, why is this article so important to me? Well, there's two different things I want to talk about. The first thing is we had a wide receiver who I thought was going to come in and be this excellent slot receiver, this excellent guy that you can put into space and become kind of like a Percy Harvin type player, where it's like if you get him in space and all he has to do is beat the safety, it's a touchdown. So we had a guy who I thought was going to be that. He had a big kickoff return last season for us. I don't even want to say his name, but he had a big kickoff return for us last year for a touchdown um, against Texas A&M. And then he just started whining towards the end of the season out of nowhere and packed his bags up right before the bowl game and went to SMU. I'm not going to say his name. He just started whining on us and disappeared. I thought he was going to be that guy this coming year who was just going to kill as a slot receiver, but he's not. So the fact that this guy's name is being thrown around as being like a burner type receiver, somebody who can get open and then actually make moves when he gets the ball for big plays, that is music to my ears. Knowing that we can potentially replace this guy who left out of nowhere, that's excellent. Great to hear. The second thing I want to talk about is we know we're gonna get from Jacoby George as long as he is disciplined enough to not do crazy stuff and as long as he's able to get on the field. We know what we're gonna get from Jacoby George. We're going to get a whole lot of big plays. He's going to get open pretty consistently. He's also going to do a bonehead play every now and again too. A lot, a 15-yard penalty here and there as we grew to know towards the end of the season. We also know what we're going to get from Xavier Restrepo. Those are the two guys on the offensive side. You know what you're going to get from them two. I believe Restrepo is going to get double teamed on a lot on probably 60% of the snaps that we have this year. I think Restrepo is going to be either double teamed or he'll have a shade over the top or a shade on the left, shade on the right. He's going to have two people looking at him every single play, just about. So with that being the case, we're going to have this guy. I don't know who it is. Hopefully it's going to be Joseph, but we're going to have one guy, whoever this slot guy is going to be, he's going to have a lot of opportunities. And if it is this Joseph guy, then he's going to have plenty of opportunities to catch a short route where he gets some separation and turn up the field and only have to beat a safety or only have to beat a linebacker. So he's going to have some great opportunities. So once again, Joseph or whoever this new slot person is going to be, he's going to have the opportunity to fill in for the person who left and went to SMU. And then also he's going to have some great opportunities because the other receivers are going to get so much attention that you'll have plenty of field to make, plenty of space to make a lot of plays in. So let me know what y'all's thoughts are on this article. I thought it was a pretty cool read. once again, a big shout out to Brian Smith. I think he does excellent work, so I want to make sure to give him enough credit on this. Ray Joseph, we're gonna see what you're all about, my man. Like I said, he had 6 catches last year for 36 yards. Not an outstanding season, obviously, but yeah, he's just a sophomore this coming year. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's gonna do. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts on what you think Ray Joseph is gonna do. Also, please let me know, like, was I just tripping last year and I didn't notice him? Did y'all notice him? Did he ever jump off the screen for y'all? I'm curious to know that. So once again, I appreciate the view. Appreciate you watching. I appreciate the support. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I truly appreciate that. So take care. God bless. Peace.